Living alone in old age can feel like entering a new chapter of life, one filled with both quiet reflection and unique challenges. But more than anything, it's a time that can be empowering and deeply enriching. As someone who has embraced this stage of life, I understand how living alone shapes you, often in ways you might not expect. I've seen conversations across forums where many people share their experiences. Based on those voices, here's what living alone often makes us do as we grow older and how these changes can add more depth and meaning to our lives. Number 1. Reconnecting with ourselves. One of the most powerful things I've observed is how living alone allows us to reconnect with our inner selves. Many people mention how the absence of constant distractions lets them rediscover who they are at their core. Take Margaret, a 65-year-old woman who shared her story on a Reddit thread. After her husband passed away, she moved into a small apartment, unsure of what the future held. For the first time in years, she had no one to cater to, no one to share the daily routines with. At first, she said, the silence felt overwhelming. But slowly, Margaret found herself rediscovering things she used to love, like gardening. She started small, with a few pots of herbs on her windowsill. Now she jokes that she's become the crazy plant lady with an entire balcony filled with greenery. Margaret's journey of reconnecting with herself didn't happen overnight, but she learned that being alone doesn't have to mean feeling lonely. It can be about rediscovering your passions and filling your time with things that bring you joy. When she sits down with a cup of tea and looks at her plants, she feels a sense of peace that had been missing for years. Two, developing new routines and rituals. Living alone requires us to create a daily structure that fits our needs, and this often leads to new routines or rituals. Many people have shared how they've developed morning rituals that are completely their own, whether it's enjoying a cup of tea while watching the sunrise, practicing yoga, or simply sitting in silence to plan the day. John, a retired engineer, shared a comment in an online video about how living alone changed the way he structured his days. After decades of waking up at 5 a.m. for work, he finally allowed himself the luxury of sleeping in. Now his mornings are slow and deliberate. He enjoys his coffee while reading the newspaper, something he never had time for before. He even started a new tradition, taking a 20-minute walk around his neighborhood every afternoon. He mentioned that his new routine gave his days a sense of rhythm and purpose. John said something that really struck me. When you live alone, your time is your own. You're not rushing for anyone. You can build your day exactly the way you like, and there's something truly satisfying about that. Another example comes from Lily, a widow in her early 70s. She began ending her day with a candlelit bath and a book. It became her personal ritual, one that helped her unwind and reflect. Her routine, she said, turned her nights from moments of loneliness into ones of comfort and peace. This small act of self-care helped her embrace the calm that comes with solitude. 3. Becoming more self-reliant. Living alone encourages self-reliance in ways that are both practical and emotional. You're the one responsible for managing every part of your life, from grocery shopping to home maintenance and making health decisions. For many, this can be daunting, but it also brings an incredible sense of accomplishment. For Arthur, living alone at 68 was an unexpected challenge when his wife passed away. He shared his story on a popular online forum about how he was left feeling overwhelmed by everyday tasks, especially cooking and home maintenance. He'd never cooked more than toast and eggs, relying on his wife to prepare meals throughout their marriage. But when she was gone, he realized he had to fend for himself. Arthur turned to YouTube and began watching simple cooking tutorials. His first success? A basic pasta dish that he proudly shared with his online community. He admitted that it was far from gourmet, but it was something he had made for himself. Over time, Arthur's cooking skills improved, and now he often experiments with recipes he finds online. He even jokes that his late wife would be impressed by his newfound skills in the kitchen. This sense of self-reliance gave Arthur a newfound confidence and sense of accomplishment. Then there's Joyce, who had never paid much attention to her home's maintenance. But after moving into a small house on her own, she started learning how to fix things around the house. With the help of online forums, she learned how to unclog a sink, change a light fixture, and even build her own bookshelves. Joyce shared that becoming more self-sufficient was a learning curve, but it gave her a deep sense of pride. "I never thought I'd be the handy one in the house," she wrote, "but it turns out I'm stronger and more capable than I gave myself credit for." 4. Rediscovering old hobbies and exploring new interests. One of the unexpected gifts of living alone is the freedom to indulge in hobbies, both old ones you may have left behind and new ones you've never had the chance to try. Whether it's dusting off the paintbrushes or learning to play the piano, living alone gives you the time and space to dive into what genuinely excites you. Carol, in her mid-70s, talked about rediscovering her love for painting. She hadn't picked up a paintbrush in over 40 years, but after retiring and living alone, she found herself yearning for something creative to fill her time. Carol shared in a post that she began attending local art classes again, surrounded by people half her age, but she didn't mind. It wasn't long before she turned a small corner of her living room into a mini studio. Her walls are now filled with her work, and she shared that painting has become her therapy, a way to express herself and reconnect with her younger self. Her story is a beautiful reminder that it's never too late to revisit old passions. Similarly, Bill, a 72-year-old living alone in Florida, found solace in an unexpected hobby: birdwatching. After his wife passed away, he struggled with grief and often found himself restless. But one afternoon, while sitting in his backyard, he noticed the variety of birds flying in and out of his garden. He started keeping a journal of the species he saw, eventually buying a pair of binoculars. Bill wrote in a comment that birdwatching helped him heal. "I realize that life continues in the smallest, most beautiful ways, even when we think it's standing still," he said. 5. Building stronger connections with others on your own terms. Living alone doesn't mean isolation. It's far from it. In fact, many people find that living alone makes their social interactions more meaningful because they have the energy and space to choose who they spend their time with. You start reaching out to people who genuinely enrich your life, and this leads to deeper, more fulfilling relationships. Doris, a woman in her late 60s, shared how living alone actually improved her relationships with her children and friends. With no one else to take care of, Doris found herself making time for intentional phone calls and coffee dates. She said that she had never felt closer to her daughter because now they have more meaningful conversations, uninterrupted by the busyness of life. Another example comes from James, a retired schoolteacher who had always been an introvert. But living alone helped him realize how much he valued deep connections with a few close friends. He now schedules weekly game nights with friends he met at a local senior center. James said that these interactions have become the highlight of his week, and he cherishes the time spent with people who bring joy and laughter into his life. 6. Facing loneliness and finding comfort in solitude. Loneliness is often a concern when living alone, especially in old age. But what many people say, and I've found to be true as well, is that you start distinguishing between loneliness and solitude. Solitude can be incredibly peaceful, a time for reflection and self-care. One widow by the name of Anna shared a candid reflection on her struggle with loneliness after her husband passed away. At first, the silence in her home was unbearable, but over time, Anna learned to embrace the quiet moments. She said she found peace in sitting by her window, watching the sunset with a cup of tea. This simple act, she said, became a form of meditation. Anna emphasized the importance of distinguishing between being alone and being lonely. She admitted that loneliness creeps in sometimes, but she's learned to combat it by calling her sister, taking walks, or volunteering at the local library. Her story shows that loneliness is a natural part of the journey, but it doesn't have to define you. 7. Creating a space that reflects you. When you live alone, your home becomes an extension of who you are. Many people have shared how they've used this opportunity to create a living space that feels uniquely theirs, whether it's decorating in a way that truly speaks to you, or reorganizing your furniture to maximize comfort and practicality. Living alone gives you the freedom to design your environment exactly how you like. Paul, in his 60s, shared a story about finally getting the freedom to design his home the way he wanted. When he and his wife divorced, Paul moved into a small apartment and found himself with a blank canvas. He had never cared much for decor before, but living alone gave him the opportunity to create a space that reflected his personality. He started decorating with vintage posters from his favorite movies and filled his bookshelves with old classics. His living space, he said, is now 100% me. Similarly, Evelyn, a retired nurse, had always dreamed of having a home filled with vibrant colors, but her husband preferred more neutral tones. After his passing, she redecorated their home with bright hues of yellow and teal, colors that she said brought her happiness. For the first time, Evelyn said, I live in a space that truly feels like my own. 8. Practicing mindfulness and gratitude. When you live alone, you become more attuned to the present moment. With fewer distractions, many older adults find themselves practicing mindfulness, whether consciously or not. Helen, a woman in her late 70s, shared in an online video how she began incorporating mindfulness into her daily life after moving into a small cottage by herself. She noticed that she started savoring her meals more, enjoying each bite instead of rushing through meals as she had when cooking for a family. Simple activities, like watering plants or folding laundry, became meditative for her. Similarly, David, a retired teacher, mentioned that he began keeping a gratitude journal after he started living alone. Each evening, he writes down 3 things he's thankful for. It could be as simple as the birds chirping outside his window, or a kind word from a neighbor. He said that practicing gratitude has transformed his mindset, helping him focus on the positive aspects of his life rather than dwelling on loneliness. Both Helen and David's experiences show how living alone creates the space for reflection, helping us appreciate life's smaller, quieter moments. 9. Taking charge of health and well-being. Living alone encourages a proactive approach to health, both mental and physical. George, a 69-year-old who shared his story on a health-focused forum, explained that after he started living alone, he realized he was solely responsible for his own well-being. Without anyone to remind him to stay active or eat well, he knew he had to take control. George began walking every morning, even if it was just around the block. Over time, he added more distance and eventually joined a local walking group. Now, not only does he feel fitter, but he's also made new friends. Monica, in her early 70s, found that living alone gave her the push to address her mental health. She shared in a forum that after years of putting herself last, behind work, family, and caregiving, she finally had the time to focus on her emotional well-being. Monica began seeing a therapist and practicing meditation. For the first time in decades, she was prioritizing her own mental health, and she noticed a marked improvement in her mood and outlook. Living alone helped her realize that self-care is not selfish, it's essential. 10. Embracing creativity in cooking and meals. Without the obligation to cook for others, living alone offers the freedom to experiment in the kitchen. Many older adults have shared that they found joy in cooking for themselves, treating it as a creative outlet rather than a chore. Susan, a woman in her mid-60s, shared how she started trying new recipes after moving into her own place. With no one else's preferences to cater to, she began experimenting with different cuisines, ingredients, and flavors that she'd never tried before. Now cooking is one of her favorite activities, and she looks forward to planning new meals each week. Similarly, Frank, a 72-year-old widower, took a different approach. He shared that living alone allowed him to simplify his meals. He created a weekly menu with easy-to-make, nutritious dishes and stuck to it. Frank said this routine gave him peace of mind, knowing he was eating well without the hassle of planning elaborate meals every day. What he once viewed as a necessity has become a comforting routine, something he looks forward to at the end of each day. Living alone in old age isn't about solitude, it's about freedom. It's about rediscovering what makes you, you. It gives you the space to grow, learn, and thrive at your own pace. Whether you're reconnecting with yourself, exploring new hobbies, or simply enjoying the silence, this is your time, so embrace it, celebrate it, you've earned it. Life alone can be deeply fulfilling when you recognize it as an opportunity to shape your world exactly how you want it. Take this journey day by day and remember, it's never too late to live the life you've always wanted. Feel free to share your thoughts and experiences in the comments below. Remember to like and subscribe if you found this video helpful. Thank you for watching. As the years pass, many of us find ourselves grappling with the complexities of aging. It's not just about the physical changes, the graying hair, the laugh lines deepening, or the occasional ache that wasn't there before. The hardest part of getting older often lies deeper in the emotional and psychological shifts that come with the passage of time. From countless discussions in major online forums, it's clear that people of all ages are wrestling with similar challenges. And if you're feeling this way, you're not alone. Let's talk about some of these challenges and how we can navigate them together. Number 1. Facing the reality of time and mortality. One of the most profound realizations that come with aging is the awareness of time's relentless march forward. In our youth, time feels infinite. We have dreams and plans that stretch out endlessly before us. But as we age, the perception of time changes. Days, months, and years seem to pass more quickly, and the realization that life is finite becomes more pronounced. Many people on forums express a sense of urgency, a feeling that they need to accomplish everything before it's too late. This can lead to anxiety, or even a midlife crisis, where people reassess their life choices, often with a mix of regret and hope. I remember a story shared by a man in his late 50s on Reddit. He spoke about how he always dreamed of traveling the world, but life, work, raising a family, financial constraints, always seemed to get in the way. Now, with his children grown and retirement on the horizon, he's finally planning those trips. His story is a reminder that while time may feel more limited, it's never too late to pursue our passions. 2. Dealing with physical and mental decline. The physical aspect of aging is perhaps the most visible, and it's something that many people struggle with. Our bodies don't work the way they used to. We might find ourselves more prone to injuries, needing more recovery time, or simply not having the stamina we once had. On a popular online forum, a user in their late 60s talked about how they used to be an avid runner but now can barely jog without feeling winded. They expressed frustration and sadness over the loss of a hobby that once brought them so much joy. Mental decline is another aspect that many fear. Forgetfulness, slower processing times, and even conditions like Alzheimer's are real concerns as we age. A common thread in these discussions is the fear of losing independence and the ability to enjoy life as we once did. Now, while these changes can be discouraging, it's important to shift our perspective. I've found new ways to stay active that are kinder to my body, like swimming and yoga. It's about adapting and finding joy in different forms, rather than focusing on what we've lost. 3. Loneliness and isolation. As we age, our social circles often shrink. Friends move away, relationships change, and sometimes people drift apart. For those who are single or whose children have moved out, loneliness can become a significant challenge. A thread in an online forum was filled with heartfelt stories from people in their 60s and 70s who felt isolated. Many spoke about how difficult it was to make new friends at their age, especially when dealing with the loss of lifelong companions. The pandemic only heightened this sense of isolation, making it harder for many to reconnect with the outside world. Loneliness is a heavy burden, but it's one we can lighten by actively seeking connections. I've joined local community groups, volunteered, and even reconnected with old friends. It's not always easy, but it's essential to keep putting ourselves out there. 4. Regrets and unfulfilled dreams. As we reflect on our lives, it's natural to think about the paths we didn't take, the opportunities we missed, or the dreams that remain unfulfilled. This can lead to feelings of regret or a sense that we've wasted time. A man in his 70s shared his regret about never learning to play the piano, something he'd always wanted to do but kept putting off. He spoke about how he now spends time each day learning, even though it's much harder than it would have been when he was younger. Now, regret is a powerful emotion, but it's also a motivator. It's a reminder that we still have time to pursue those dreams, even if it's in a different way than we initially envisioned. I've learned that it's never too late to start something new, and that our past doesn't have to define our future. 5. The challenge of staying relevant. In a rapidly changing world, many older adults feel left behind. Technology evolves, societal norms shift, and what was once familiar becomes foreign. This can lead to a sense of irrelevance or disconnection from the younger generation. I came across a forum post from a woman in her 50s who felt out of touch with her teenage children. She struggled to understand their world of social media, online gaming, and digital communication, which made her feel like she was losing touch with them. Now, staying relevant is about staying curious. Personally, I've made it a point to learn new technologies, ask questions, and engage with younger people. Remember, it's not just about keeping up, it's about maintaining a connection with the world around us. 6. Finding purpose in later life. As careers wind down and children grow up, many people struggle with finding a new sense of purpose. The roles that once defined us, parent, worker, caregiver, may no longer be as central to our lives, leaving us to wonder what's next. In a popular online forum, a woman in her 60s shared her journey of finding purpose after retirement. She spoke about how she turned to art, something she had always loved but never had time for, and how it gave her a renewed sense of identity and fulfillment. Finding purpose in later life is about rediscovering passions and exploring new ones. For me, it's been about giving back, mentoring younger people, and dedicating time to causes I care about. It's about recognizing that our value isn't tied to our productivity, but to the love and wisdom we can share with the world. 7. Navigating identity shifts. As we age, the roles that once defined us, whether as professionals, parents, or even caregivers, begin to change or fade away. This shift in identity can be disorienting, leaving us questioning who we are without the titles and responsibilities that once gave our lives structure and meaning. A woman in her 60s shared how she felt lost after retiring from a successful career. Her job had been her identity for decades, and without it, she didn't know what to do with herself. She found herself waking up in the mornings with no clear direction, struggling to fill her days with purpose. Now, I've also been there. When I retired, I faced a similar sense of displacement. But over time, I learned that this period of uncertainty was an opportunity to rediscover myself. So, I started journaling, reflecting on what truly mattered to me beyond my career. I explored hobbies I'd set aside, like gardening and painting, and reconnected with old friends. This journey helped me build a new identity, one that wasn't tied to a job title, but to the person I'd become over the years. 8. Caring for adult children or grandchildren. As parents, we often think that our responsibilities end when our children reach adulthood. But in reality, many of us find ourselves continuing to care for our grown children, or even stepping in as primary caregivers for our grandchildren. This can be both a joy and a burden as we balance our desire to help with the need to protect our own time and energy. A man in his late 60s shared his experience of moving in with his daughter to help care for his grandchildren. While he cherished the time with them, he also admitted feeling exhausted and sometimes overwhelmed by the demands. He hadn't anticipated that, in his retirement years, he would be changing diapers and running after toddlers. Now, I know how it feels. My daughter recently went through a tough divorce, and I found myself stepping in to help with my young grandchildren. It's been a blessing to be so involved in their lives, but it's also challenged me to find a balance. I've had to learn to set boundaries, to say no when I need rest, and to find time for myself amidst the chaos. It's a delicate dance, but it's taught me so much about love, patience, and the importance of self-care. 9. Adjusting to retirement and financial changes. Retirement is often painted as a time of relaxation and leisure, but the reality is that it can be a major adjustment, both emotionally and financially. For many, the sudden shift from a steady income to living on a fixed budget is a source of stress. Additionally, the loss of a daily routine can leave people feeling unmoored and uncertain about how to fill their days. A man in his early 70s shared on a forum how, after retiring, he struggled to manage his finances. He hadn't anticipated how different it would be to live on a pension compared to his previous salary. He also found himself with too much time on his hands, leading to feelings of boredom and a sense of purposelessness. Now, when I retired, I went through a similar experience. The financial adjustments were challenging, but what surprised me more was the emotional aspect. Suddenly, my days were wide open, and I had to figure out how to fill them meaningfully. So, I started volunteering at a local shelter, which not only gave me structure, but also a sense of fulfillment. Financially, I learned to budget more carefully and found creative ways to stretch my resources, like downsizing and enjoying simple pleasures that didn't break the bank. 10. Coping with changing relationships. As we age, our relationships evolve. Friendships that once felt unbreakable may fade. Family dynamics can shift, and romantic relationships might face new challenges. These changes can leave us feeling isolated or questioning the connections we once relied on. A woman in her 50s shared how her circle of friends had dwindled over the years. Some friends had moved away, others had drifted apart due to life changes, and a few had passed away. She found herself struggling to maintain connections and felt a deep sense of loneliness as a result. Now, I've also seen relationships change in my own life. Some of my oldest friends have moved on to different stages of life, and it's been hard to keep in touch. But I've also learned that this is a natural part of aging. Rather than mourning the loss of old connections, I've tried to focus on nurturing the relationships that remain and being open to new friendships. So I joined a local book club, which introduced me to a wonderful group of people who share my interests. It's a reminder that while relationships change, they can also grow and evolve in beautiful ways. Getting older is challenging, but it's also a privilege denied to many. It's a time of transition, reflection, and most importantly, growth. The hardest parts of aging are often the most valuable opportunities for learning and self-discovery. Yes, there are losses and hardships, but there are also joys and triumphs. We have the chance to look back on a life well lived, pass on our wisdom, and embrace the person we've become. Aging isn't the end of the journey. It's a new chapter, rich with possibilities and experiences waiting to be had. So, as you navigate the complexities of getting older, remember that you're not alone. There's a community of people who understand, have walked this path, and are ready to support you. Just feel free to share your own thoughts and experiences in the comments below. You see, by sharing our experiences and supporting one another, we can turn the trials of aging into a source of strength and wisdom. Embrace this time with grace, resilience, and an open heart. After all, the best is yet to come. Remember to like and subscribe if you found the video helpful. Thank you for watching. Living alone in your later years can be one of the most fulfilling and liberating experiences of your life. For many, it's a time of rediscovery, peace, and personal growth. While the idea of being on your own might seem daunting at first, countless people who have walked this path speak of the profound benefits that come with living alone as an older person. Let's explore these benefits, enriched with real-life examples, to make them more relatable and practical for you. Number 1. Rediscovering yourself. Living alone offers you the unique opportunity to rediscover who you are beyond the roles you've played throughout your life, whether as a spouse, parent, or caregiver. Perhaps, for the first time in decades, you now have the freedom to focus on your interests, passions, and desires without compromise. Consider Sarah, who at 67 found herself living alone for the first time after her children moved out and her husband passed away. Initially, the silence felt overwhelming, but she soon realized it was an invitation to explore her own interests. Sarah always had a passion for painting, something she hadn't pursued since her youth. With her newfound solitude, she decided to transform a spare room into an art studio. She began painting daily, not for anyone else, but for herself. I felt like I was meeting myself for the first time in decades, she says. It's as if I'm reconnecting with the person I was before life's responsibilities took over. This rediscovery isn't limited to hobbies. Many people like Sarah find that living alone gives them the freedom to reflect on their life choices, reconnect with old passions, or even pursue entirely new interests. The joy of doing something purely for yourself is immeasurable. 2. Freedom and independence. One of the most cherished aspects of living alone is the independence it offers. You get to decide how your day unfolds, what meals you want to cook or not cook, and how you want to spend your time. There's a certain joy in the simplicity of these choices and in the freedom to shape your environment exactly as you like it. Think about John, who at 73 decided to move to a smaller, more manageable home after his wife passed away. The decision was entirely his, and he relished the freedom to choose a place that suited his new lifestyle. "I didn't have to consider anyone else's preferences, just what I wanted," he explains. "It was liberating." John now spends his days gardening, something his wife never had much interest in. He loves the fact that he can spend hours outdoors without feeling guilty about neglecting anyone. "It's my time, my space, and my choice," he says with a smile. This sense of independence isn't just about physical space, it's also about emotional and mental freedom. You can create a routine that fits your rhythm, eat what you want, and decorate your space exactly how you like it. Every decision is yours, and there's something incredibly empowering about that. 3. Peace and quiet. As we age, peace and quiet become more than just luxuries. They become necessities. Living alone means you can curate your environment to be as tranquil as you desire. There's no one else's noise to contend with, no distractions unless you welcome them. You can choose when to engage with the world and when to retreat into the serenity of your own space. Take the example of Maria, who at 70 found herself cherishing the silence of her home after decades of raising children and living with a partner. Maria describes her mornings as the most peaceful time of her day. "I wake up to the sound of birds, not an alarm clock or someone else's schedule," she says. "I can sit in my favorite chair, sip my coffee, and just enjoy the stillness. It's a kind of peace I never knew I needed." This quiet time allows Maria to meditate, reflect, and plan her day without any interruptions. It's a time for her to recharge mentally and emotionally, something that she believes is vital for her well-being. 4. Control over your space. When you live alone, your home truly becomes your sanctuary. You have complete control over your space, how it looks, feels, and functions. This might sound like a small thing, but it's incredibly powerful. Your home can be exactly what you need it to be, without compromise. Let's look at the story of Tom, who at 68 decided to downsize after his wife's passing. He moved into a cozy apartment that he could decorate exactly how he wanted. "I always wanted a minimalist space, but that wasn't possible when I was sharing my home," Tom says. Now his apartment is a reflection of his tastes, simple, clean, and filled with natural light. He's surrounded by things that bring him joy, and nothing else. "It's my sanctuary," he adds. "Every corner of this place is exactly how I want it." Having control over your environment means that your home can truly reflect your personality and needs. Whether it's creating a minimalist haven like Tom or filling your space with art and color, living alone allows you to make your home a true reflection of who you are. 5. Building a deeper relationship with yourself. When you spend time alone, you inevitably build a deeper relationship with yourself. This time of solitude can be incredibly healing, allowing you to process the experiences of your life and come to terms with any unresolved emotions. It's a time to listen to your inner voice, to reflect on your journey, and to appreciate the person you've become. Take the story of Gloria, a 74-year-old widow who has been living alone for the past 5 years. Gloria describes her time alone as a journey inward. When my husband passed, I didn't know what to do with myself, she admits. But over time, I started to enjoy my own company. I began journaling, reflecting on my life and understanding my own emotions in a way I never had before. Gloria's experience is a testament to the healing power of solitude. By spending time alone, she was able to process her grief, come to terms with her new reality, and find a sense of peace within herself. This deeper relationship with yourself can lead to greater self-awareness, emotional resilience, and a profound sense of inner peace. 6. Strengthening connections with others. Ironically, living alone can actually strengthen your connections with others. When you're not constantly surrounded by people, you have the chance to truly miss and appreciate the relationships you choose to maintain. This can lead to more meaningful interactions, as you're engaging with others out of genuine desire rather than obligation. Consider Joe, a 72-year-old retiree who moved to a new city after his wife passed away. Living alone, Joe found himself reaching out to old friends and making new ones in his community. "I realized that just because I'm alone doesn't mean I have to be lonely," he says. "I started hosting small dinners and joining local clubs. The relationships I've built are deeper and more meaningful than ever before." Joe's story highlights the power of choosing your social interactions based on genuine desire rather than obligation. When you live alone, you can cultivate relationships that truly enrich your life, rather than maintaining connections out of habit or necessity. 7. The joy of solitude. There's a profound joy that comes from embracing solitude in your older years. It's a time to be alone without feeling lonely, to find contentment in your own company. This solitude allows you to connect with yourself on a deeper level, fostering a sense of inner peace and fulfillment that can be difficult to find in the hustle and bustle of a shared life. Consider the story of Lily, who at 71 found herself living alone for the first time after her husband's passing. Initially, the solitude felt heavy, but over time, Lily began to find joy in her own company. "I started taking long walks in the park, something I never had time for before," she shares. "I'd bring a book, sit by the lake, and just enjoy being alone. It became a time for me to reflect, to enjoy nature, and to find peace in the quiet." Lily's experience is a reminder that solitude isn't something to be feared, it's something to be embraced. It offers you the chance to connect with yourself, find contentment in your own company, and enjoy life at a pace that suits you. 8. Personal growth and reflection. Living alone provides a unique opportunity for personal growth. Without the distractions of others' needs and opinions, you have the space to reflect on your life, set new goals, and pursue them at your own pace. This time of reflection can be incredibly enriching, offering you new insights into who you are and what you want out of life. Take the example of Frank, who at 70 decided to take up writing after his wife passed away. "I always wanted to write, but life got in the way," he explains. "Now that I'm alone, I have the time and space to finally pursue it. Writing has become a way for me to process my thoughts and experiences." Frank's story is just one example of how living alone can be a time of significant personal growth. Whether it's learning a new skill,